We're here at Batsu Ecolodge, or Finca Numi. It's an eco lodge and working coffee farm.
This is an organic farm. We're just not certified organic because it's too expensive to be certified organic when the farmer has to pay for all the prices, and the coffee shops, the distributors, are actually the ones who make the money off of the certification, not the farmer. So it's all about featuring and understanding the farm itself. And why is this organic? The fungicides and herbicides that are used are all organic because they're actually the most affordable. Okay. And then inside of that, we actually have agroforestry shade grown. So that's another buzz term that you'll find on Amazon filters or internet filters, is shade grown coffee. Again, that's just the best way to grow it. And you can see it's shade grown because we mix in banana plants, plantain plants. We have a sign for lemons, we have a sign for oranges, we have all different orange species, lemon species, and those are natural pest resistance as well. So they keep certain bugs and animals away. So again, they have their value. When we chop down a banana tree, we just leave it there. So you'll see all these different branches and things kind of in there. Again, that's just organic material that we let just kind of chill and do its thing.
And helps the soil.
So laziness is actually pretty cool sometimes.
Well, I think people are so used to when they see a farm, like that commercial farm where it's just like rows and rows and rows of whatever crop, and that's it. Like there's no intermingling. It's not like in the forest. It's
pretty fun.
Yeah.
You know, again, it's why we invite people to come here, and I'm super happy about you guys being here and videoing it.
I feel this is like a really authentic coffee farm, like the way that it back in the day, and like you said, Carlos's dad, like this is how coffee was always grown, and then I think it's just become like commercialized.
And I think that's what's scary. Again, in Costa Rica, luckily it doesn't happen, but if you look at Brazil and Vietnam and some other places, they are rows of coffee, and they have machines that just cut the coffee plants down and stalk off everything, and just the plants are, and they'll replant the coffee plants again because it's fields and fields. It's easier and cheaper for them just to mow it down. We're on kind of a lifelong journey here of just science and, you know, kind of learning. Most farmers in the past, you know, Carlos's dad was an amazing guy who built all this, but Carlos's dad, along with most other farmers, lived by the gut. And so now that we have capabilities to do more science, Carlos and I are collaborating on scientific observation to kind of start tracking those trends. So just started
the gut 2.0.
Gut 2.0, yeah, because there's still a lot of gut in it. There's no way around gut. And that's all up to Carlos. He's the artisan. So yeah, see back there, just some bananas hanging out. More than welcome to take them. Coffee plants are really interesting in the fact that they go through these different life cycles. So picture a bell curve in your head if we stick with the science terms. Maturity of the coffee plant happens around year 3-ish. Beginning of its life, it doesn't produce the best coffee, and towards the end of its life, it doesn't produce the best coffee. That's around 7 years is the life of a good coffee plant. So bell curve again. And what's really interesting is they only produce on the branch once. So just like a tree has rings, coffee plants have branches. So you can see these notches. And so you do kind of get some rogue ones down here, but you can see that this was an earlier production from an earlier year. But this could be 2 years old, 3 years old, not 100% sure. But you'll see that all the production happens at the end. So you have these gaps, and so you can kind of tell by the age. So if we look at this one, this is a younger coffee plant. How close that is, right, to the core. So again, these are kind of the cool visual techniques. So it's fun to walk around the farm and just kind of look at it. So these will go through green into yellow. Yellow is what we call considered traditional. So green is green, not to be confused with the green coffee that's roasted, right? They are harvested. So just like if anybody knows a little bit of agriculture, like tomato plants, you cull back the tomatoes, like maybe you'll pick off the flowers. So that way you can get more strong, rich tomato plants. Coffee's kind of the same. So in the beginning of the harvest, they'll come through and start picking off some of the kind of mangly looking beans, maybe some that are kind of going, and that gives the energy to help it finish. But those are actually harvested and sold. And so that's kind of your like lower grade coffee. That's going to be in your That's going to be in your other brands, like your big national
like
brands.
Maxwell House.
Maxwell House. They're going to buy all the hard Duro green coffee they can get their hands on because it's just trash. And so that's why like Batsu Coffee is partnered with Finca Noemi and all of our other artisans to kind of really get that top of the top, right?
How long does it take for the fruit to grow? Like from like it starts growing and then when does it get harvested? Like how long?
So it flowers. It's actually flowers. So all these start off like flowers, like any plant. Flowering happens in like April after the first heavy rains. So they kind of wait for the rains. Like when are the rains coming? And there's this dance between when the rains are coming, when are the coffees gonna flower, and they can flower twice, but that happens around April. And then the seeds start to take in, like you're seeing now, the fruit starts to take in. And these will be picked starting in December.
Okay.
So it's a long process.
So from like April till December.
April, December, yeah. Eight months or so. San Isidoro 48, which is another micro species. So the 7-year cycle is not the end of the plant. It's more of like that long stalk. So you'll see here that this has been around for a while, but they've cut it.
Okay.
And so that kind of restarts the process for another
Okay.
7 years. A lot of farmers have challenges of they'll plant the whole farm at once. And then after 7 years, like you can kind of cut some back. Others need to just be uprooted and thrown away. And that is a bad year because you now have to spend all this money on the whole farm at once. Yeah. So Carlos took a good stratified approach where these micro lots have different species because he planted them at different times. I want to take you guys up really high. It's a portal to Valhalla. I mean that seriously.
What's Valhalla?
So the Scandinavians, the Vikings believe that, you ever, when you go hiking, you maybe enter a ring in a forest and you're like, whoa, there's like this crazy good energy, like something's just there talking to you. I have a friend that lives in Sweden, and he said, oh, those are portals to Valhalla, the heaven for the Vikings.
So when it's harvest time, do they pick by hand?
Yep. Every single damn bean.
Whiffs the lemon smells so good.
Yeah.
It smells so fresh. Oh, because you got one in your hand. I'm like, lemon smells really
Is that
lemony
the
here.
cooking one or the eating one? What do you think?
Very sour.
Very sour? That might be the cooking one.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. These are young plants. So this was an area that was kind of, they had to clear out at one point. So now they've replanted some. So you kind of see it, the different ages. Yep.
Yeah.
And this is a great area again. Like you can kind of see the good shade, blocked from the wind. Look at this. Look at the leaves. Look how hardy everything is. And then you kind of come over here and you're like, it's stripped. There's no leaves. You know what I mean? Like, but yes, it's. I always tell people, welcome to a coffee farm. It's unkept, as one of the reviews said.
But this is also too, like, just, thinking of the people coming and picking from the plants, like, they're out in the wild picking these plants. And they're not like just standing in a row and going to the next one and the next one. Like, this is like real coffee.
Again, you gotta give credit to these people that are picking stuff. It's like, and as you drive around Costa Rica more, you'll see mountainsides like this, and you'll see mountaineering rope, like strings where these pickers are like gonna have to tie in to pick the coffee. Farming is hard, and it's easier to move to San Jose and work from a computer and make more money.
Yeah, but we need farmers.
But we need
like
food.
The world needs farmers. These people that are like, they live a long time. They're spry, like late in life. It's because they're doing things like this, like.
Yeah. All right, say cafe.
Cafe.
So you're Carlos the coffee farmer.
Coffee farmer, a small coffee farmer.
It's awesome. We tried the coffee. It's really good.
Okay, thank you.
So this is where they process the coffee?
Yeah, so like we showed that the green fruit, it's called fruit. When it comes yellow or red, you run it through this processor, and that's what strips off the fruit and gives you that coffee bean that everybody's used to seeing. Again, as we discussed, there's more steps to that: water wash, honey processing, natural, anaerobic, which Carlos does all here. They're taking it down, but there's a platform up there, and there's a machine, and then it would just shoot down in tubes. So it's like a separator. One side comes out all the fruit, the other side comes out the bean. So then that comes over here. So these are kind of super old and obviously you would never touch these. But here's some other raw kind of gross kind of beans. But these are raised coffee beds. This is what you would do the honey processing in, and this is the sun drying. So you just rake it back and forth. There's black honey, red honey, and yellow honey, and that category depends on how many times you rake it throughout the day, and it's about 21 days. So one guy's job is just sit here and rake it.
How long does that harvest normally take between like they start picking, they get all the fruit sent off, and the coffee that they're going to process in the honey process starts in December? Like when would that end?
Just January, end of January.
So like kind of 2 months-ish, maybe not
intense.
even.
The coffee that's harvested now, you will not be drinking in America, Europe, Canada, wherever until a year or two from now, right? Because the classification process becomes a thing. Okay, so there's only so many people in the supply chain that can classify the coffee as a 5, a 4, a 3. Okay, now we've classified it. Now we have to dehusk it and do these next steps and these next steps. And then we have to register it with eCafe and the government agencies in Costa Rica. And that all takes time, and then it's just like quote unquote freshness that people are really hung up on is really a myth. You know, just if it's good coffee, it's good coffee. If it's bad coffee, it's bad coffee. You know, just look at where it's coming from. Do your best to get to where is this coffee coming from? What micro farm? What country? You know, avoid the blends of whole regions. That's just a joke. You know, Central American blend, that's just like
that's where they send all the crap coffee.
That's where they send all the crap. Skip the organic. The organic is
money grab,
and most people that get the money are the roasters, the coffee shops. The farmers have to pay all the money to get the organic certification. Only big coffee farms can do it. So if you're like, oh, I don't want to support big farms, I want to go after micro farms, I want to help the smaller, well, don't do organic, because they're the big ones are the only ones that can actually pay for it. We hope, and there's a lot of the coffee industry speaking of loudly right now, we really hope that in the future, when you go to a coffee shop, when you go to a grocery store, when you go online, and online's really leading that revolution to buy coffee, is the same thing you think of when you think of beers, when you think of wine. It's like you go to a restaurant and you're like, if you're a beer drinker, you go and you're like, oh, today I would like an ale, lager, a pilsen, whatever. We're really hoping the coffee industry can get to that level where people are like, I want an Arabica San Isidoro. I want a honey process to have an anaerobic Costa Rica Tarazu. And that's what's going to elevate the farmers. That's what's going to elevate agriculture.
And speaking of beer, you guys have your own beer. There's a Batsu beer, right?
Yeah. Carlos's high school friend opened a brewery on the northeast side of San Ramon and called Manana Coyote. And so he brewed a really nice blonde ale, and Carlos at one point was like, hey, what if we threw coffee into that? What would happen? We love where it's at right now. It's almost like a lager and ale, back to that category concept. And so, yeah, it's just kind of a nice lager ale for up in the mountains, for coffee in the clouds, a little paradise up here. So, yeah, just a artisanal beer, 100% clean type stuff.
So we had the opportunity to try a little bit of the beer yesterday when we arrived, and it was good.
Really good.
Yeah, I'm not a big beer drinker, and I enjoyed it. So yeah, it was nice.
Carlos produces about 100 of these sacks per year on average. A lot of them are sold as fruit, which we'll show you the fruit on the farm. He gets rid of a lot of the fruit because he can't process as much and keep up with his own processing. And so the fruit is sold as what we call a fanegas, and that's its own unit of measurement of the fruit because the fruit's a larger size. And that goes down the street to a processor, and he takes the fruit off and washes it and then consolidates it with other stuff.
Thanks for watching, and subscribe. And we'll see you on the next amazing adventure as we continue traveling Costa Rica.